I'd like to welcome each one of you. I'm delighted to be here with Robert. I've had such a wonderful time creating with him and in preparing, connecting with different friends. So this has truly been from the beginning a collective effort. And I have the privilege and honor of speaking for all of us, actually, so that in this hour, the tone of life we sound will bless our worlds. And I recognize and honor the substance that each person brings. Steve or Robert, I believe we have a video to play.
We need to share the screen.
Steve, is this not sharing?
It's
Correct.
not sharing, Robert.
Excuse me.
The wonders of Zoom.
I'll just do it on the screen.
There you go.
Thank you, Robert. What beauty that was that touched my heart. I think maybe touched yours as well. Water, a symbol of truth. The first of the four creative forces, water, air, earth, and fire. And the eagle, majestic, noble, powerful, visionary, and free. Here's what Yolanda had to say about the flying eagle. The flying eagle, the symbol of truth, the Lord of truth. When we become acquainted with the reality of truth, what do we find? There is an ability to move in the air of spirit. The flying eagle, not something that is earthbound, not something that is limited to one little point here or there. And what is the nature of the eagle? The eagle is called the king of birds. The eagle carries a very positive pattern. But the nature of an eagle, the bearing of an eagle, what it suggests in relationship to the positive expression of being. And we know what it is to move in the air of spirit, to express the spirit in the daily moments of our lives, to move with the creative process through all the situations of our life. And because of this, it occurred to me that our lives are celebrations of victory. And our service times like these are also celebrations of victory, because we come together physically as a body in agreement to serve our Lord and King. And we experience victory because we choose to live the truth. I know this victory when I choose to be controlled and to act to my highest understanding of what is right, that I know in my deepest heart, to contribute to the circumstances of my life just as they are, no matter what I feel about them, and not try to change them. To listen to the word of guidance from who I am about the right time, the right place, the right way, and to seek the most creative and uplifting outcome always. Or what else could I do? Nothing. That's my purpose. And I know the experience of love when I do this. And first and foremost, it's the love for the one I am, and above us all, our Lord and King, that focalizes this beautiful earth. And out of that first commandment comes the second, love for others. Every moment of living is an attunement. Here's something Martin had to say about love and truth. They are in fact inseparable. And for love to be creative, that fire force, it must manifest in the right design, the true design under God's control. And then it's creative. And the truth contains within itself the design and control. And therefore, truth is essential to love manifesting at all levels of being. And the truth of love, as we know in our own experience, it heals us and other people. It uplifts us, and it's unifying. It's unifying for everyone, anywhere, who seeks to live to their highest integrity. It is all inclusive. But fight the fire of love through self-will, and you will feel the burn. And that is the design of how things are. The creative process transforms us if we are willing to be made whole, if I am willing to be made whole. And I and we travel up the spiral of life in our process of becoming whole. And I suspect truly it's a journey without end, even beyond this physical form. Whatever is beyond, I suspect there is constant creativity, change, and growth. And in my own experience over the years of my life, I found that moving through the creative process is actually miraculous, especially when I've been in circumstances that have been very, very challenging, to say the least. And I know I speak for all of us in saying that. And what this leaves me with when I recognize this is the deepest, deepest gratitude in my heart for the one I am and for our Lord and King. I have found that it's true. The truth is an immovable object. It's absolute. It's yes or no. There's no in between. And it's a foundation that I have lived on since I first became aware of it. It has sustained me and brought me to now. And I know that I will stand on it for the rest of my time here on earth. Martin made this important point about truth. He says, the quality and the character of this immovable mass is a constant. It endureth forever, but the truth causes movement. And if we provide our own experience of living to the truth, then we will find that it is immovable, and all around us that things will change and move. And then when that starts happening, the question becomes whether the movement around us is going to dissipate our experience of immovability. We are what we are. I am that I am. And nothing can make it otherwise. And Martin says, this indicates something of the real nature and quality of the rock, our own true being. So we are present on earth in the world to manifest that rock of reality. We remain unmoved in our hearts by the changes. And yet, at the same time, what are our hearts moved by? They're moved and filled with passion to live by the truth of love that we each know. I feel a passion to live my purpose here on earth, so that when my time is complete, I may hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. What could be more meaningful? The key word is to live, to do, not just talk about what I think is true, but to speak and act in ways that are true. So in considering this for this morning, I thought this question: what do I know to be true because I have lived it, or I am living it? And a few things came to mind that I'd like to share with you. But before I do, I'd like to say, I know you have lived these truths too. And you could add many more to the few that I'm going to describe. And my purpose in offering them into our field of substance is attunement, to have a specific time of unified radiation outward beyond us on these points of agreement that are backed up by the substance, the rich substance of our living, each one of us. So here are a few of the truths that I know in my life. I go in the direction of my response. I respond to my Lord, the one I am. My decision is made. It is absolute and it is irrevocable. Although the circumstances of my life change, these are my opportunities to apply my absolute decision, to live the truth of my decision, that I respond to the Lord first and foremost. I will not let anything stop me from fulfilling my spiritual purpose. My presence has power, and it is the power of the one I am. When I become free in my limitations, then I become free from my limitations, and whatever is true cannot be lost. So in this substance, I would offer a prayer. O Lord, let my heart be pure, that I may see with thy vision what the right thing is to do. And not only see, but may I have the strength, the courage, the wisdom, and the ability to act on it. To thy glory. Amen. We know the victory in our lives, and nothing can take that away because it is true. So let us give thanks to our Lord and King for this tremendous gift of living here on earth now. That we may be of service now. That we know the confidence and assurance of living in the truth of love. We know the joy of living and of creating together. Let it continue. Robert will have an audio to play of Yolanda, the chant, Land of the Living. And after that, Robert will speak.
I want to thank Mary for choosing to have us play that chant. I'm going to read it now since the words are not easily understood, and I think they're very important to the development of the offering this hour. There is a land of the living, a land of the living. O come and dwell. O come and dwell in the land of the living. O come and serve. O come and serve the God of the living, the God of the living. There is a land of light. There is a land of light. O come and dwell in the land of light. O come, O come, O come. So when I saw these words, question immediately came to mind, where is this land of the living? And my mind harkened back to a conversation that I had with some others, with David. He made the comment that the Temple of Light service pattern has entered into the earth phase as we begin our third year. That was back in March, I think. And I realized that for the last 3 months, my heart and mind have been filled with thoughts of the earth. This place where we live, I live, it's the only place I've ever known within the realm of physical matter. Now I and we, as Mary so beautifully described, are beginning to understand another place, a holy place, one which we may also live together, with an understanding that the earth is the Lord's and the kingdoms thereof. An understanding that those ways in which we have thought about the world may need to change. Oh, we've made judgments about all kinds of things in our past. Our forebears have made judgments for millennia, actually. We live on an earth that actually is controlled. It falls under the pattern of truth. Truth is essential, as Mary said. Now, we've talked about a veil, and I've thought about that long and hard for years. Now, is this something that God inflicted upon us, the cherubim wielding those flaming swords. They held us back from heaven. And it keeps coming home to me that that's not it at all. It's the judgments we make. It's the thoughts we hold. It's the biases. So I want to tell you about a particular book that just really floored me. It caught my attention for sure. It's by Paco Calvo. It's called Planta Sapiens. Now, this book is about the possibility that plants have an intelligence. They have a consciousness. And he explores that backward and forward, and it's actually somewhat convincing. But he admits in all humility that he doesn't have the last word. They are still doing experiments. But he said, what stands in the way? Now, I'm speaking from the last 150 pages of this book. The first 50 pages, he did something I've never seen anyone do before. He said, there's no point in heading down this road unless you, the reader, can find it in yourself to allow your consciousness to shift. And he talked about something he called plant bias. I mean, we're genetically geared to watch things that move. Plants don't move. Well, they do. Actually, there's record of many, from hundreds of years ago, many experiments, people charting step by step how vines will grow in circles. Some of them do something else, but the ones that grow in circles, constantly picking at different areas within their, realm to find something to hang on. And as they find something to hang on, then they grow in that direction. There's a thought process. Well, at least it looks like it. But Paco is saying, from the very beginning, you're not going to understand, you're not going to believe me. Don't take it on my word. You're not going to believe it. Plants stand there. They're not like us. Now, I won't even get into fungi. Fungi live under the ground even. The reason this attracted me is because it is indication that within the world, there are many people who are choosing to explore this planet in an entirely different way, particularly regarding life. Life is such a special condition. I think sometimes we're so imbued with it, we just so surrounded in it that we lose track of what it really is, of the design and control that absolutely stands behind every factor within our lives. I'm developing a point here. Last month, Gary spoke about listening for the word, a discernment of the cycles that are moving around about you. I would introduce to you today that it's important for us to look as well. It's not just plants and other animals that may have capabilities and mental and emotional conditions that we have so long ago protected ourselves in the sense of not having to recognize these things. It was all about protection. judgment. It's time to start to look once again. In that regard, last week, I was introduced to a service that Martin gave 40 years ago called Activation of the Seventh Sense. I'll get to that seventh sense a little bit later, but I want to start with an analogy he developed about walking. Well, the analogy is walking, but it's about how we learn to trust the creative cycle and to be still with it. See, walking, you're actually shifting your balance continuously and you're moving from the known to the unknown. Then it gets more interesting. Let me read. With running, it can be rhythmic and care can be taken that the steps go in the right place. And the movement, therefore, can be quicker. I suppose, carrying this analogy through a bit, we might reach a point one day when we can leap upon the mountains, skip upon the hills. But it is only because we have developed the facility for doing this on a deliberate and intelligent basis. Whatever the extent of our motion thus far, it is carrying us into the unknown. But we are never far from the known. In this service, he talked a lot about observation, looking. It's not so much what nature has to teach us, it's to see the cycles that are all around us. I'll give you a couple of examples that you might not be so aware of. I mentioned, plants and fungi have an incredible relationship. In fact, I think the truth might be that the plants cannot live without the fungi. And in fact, the fungi create their own system of little roots called mycelium. And they actually live within the root system, but not just next to, but actually inside the roots of the plants. And why do they do this? Well, because this isn't just dog eat dog world for survival of the fittest. No, they nourish one another. The trees and other plants need the nourishment from the ground, the minerals. The fungi don't photosynthesize. They need the sugars from the plants. They work together. I'll give one other example. Remember the comment that says, closer than hands and feet? Well, let me tell you something. Within your gut, your digestive system, you have all kinds of creatures living in there. It's not you, they don't share your DNA. The flora and the fauna, we call it. We couldn't live without them. In fact, we have grown in a developmental way, we have grown together with these creatures. So what I'm suggesting is that the earth can teach us much. It can only teach us just so far. There's a ceiling to what can be achieved this way. How do we reach beyond? Well, Martin spoke about the seventh sense. I want to bring out another thing that I've been thinking about a great deal in the past few months. It's what became known as the blessing song. It was originally written by Martin, I guess around 1976, as simply a blessing. Thankful are we now to be filled with praise, Lord, to thee. So shall our living bless the earth. Thankful are we, Holy King. I guess you may realize that I love science. This to me is an equation. Thankfulness now, whether it's I or we, filled with praise, where? Lord, to thee. That's the first great commandment. But the first great commandment brings with it the second great commandment, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And we are in the process of seeing this come about within our lives. The working together in absolute union as if our life depended on it. As if, like the flora and the fauna, or the roots and the mycelium, there is a connection there that we absolutely cannot live without. It's a truth of life on this planet, the only life we know. And as we open our hearts and our eyes and our ears, I think we begin to understand that thankfulness is not just a lack of how is it put? I think Martin spoke this, the ability to make decisions and plans. Oh, that's scary, you know. I have to speak or design a building or even talk to my friends without thinking ahead and, you know, making a judgment as to what I should say next or do next or plan next, or how's it all going to work? And right in the midst of this, thankfulness just pops up all around. Is thankfulness for the trust, thankfulness for the surety, thankfulness for the consistency of my living, of the life that surrounds us all the time. It's incredible. Thankfulness, to me, is the opposite of judgment, fear. And with this thankfulness, what does this lead to? It leads to, well, I'll call it the wow factor. And we start to realize there's some amazing aspects to the truth of life as we live it, as it exists all around us. And our heart leaps in praise. And I suspect all animals, all creatures do this. I had the occasion, about 20 years ago, I was visiting my sister in Thailand, and she lived in a forest where somebody had let all the chickens run wild. So I happened to wake up at 4 a.m, 4:30, maybe. It was just starting to get light, and I heard just little chirp up here and a couple crackles and cut by the chickens as they went, roamed around in the forest floor. And I sat and listened. And it grew louder and louder and more intense. By about 5, who knows? It was this incredible symphony of different sounds. And every once in a while, the roosters would crow. I even looked up, and way up branches above me, there was a squirrel doing push-ups in time to the music. Now, if that's not praise and glory and the fullness of life lived by to the greatest, I don't know what is. And I'm beginning to realize that I have that capacity within me. And I know that all of you have come to that same realization. That kind of lived praise. Really is a simple thing. I can't believe that Martin put it together in such a short form that has such broad implications. I would like to sing it for you. This is the only song I know. I can never remember the words to anything else. But I want you to know it was received in some very very large gatherings. Oh, Robert, what sacred song do you know? Please sing it for us. So gladly. Thankful are we. Excuse me, I'm not used to singing this with emotion. Thankful are we now to be filled with praise. Now, Lord, to thee, so shall our living bless the earth. Thankful are we, holy King. I've had some time this morning to afternoon to share my heart and thoughts. And I would now like to offer to all of you to respond as you will in your own voice. And please don't refrain from not singing if you so feel moved.
Robert and Mary, I really so much appreciate what you've shared with us this morning. And particularly in terms of essences. Recently, I was contracted to paint a mural for a couple. And it's not so much about the painting of the mural, it's that it caused me to scrutinize and observe the desert scene much more carefully and to really appreciate the beauty that surrounds me here in the desert. So I think I have a saying in doing art that if I can't see it, I can't do it. And I think that's a principle that's true of so much of living that we see with our hearts, and something translates through to our minds in action. But in fact, we're dealing with essences all the time related to 10,000 myriad things in living. And it's the art of living to give thanks, to appreciate, and to translate that accurately with the tone in our moment-to-moment living. So thank you so much for bringing all this morning.
Thank you, Deborah.
Mary and Robert, I have tears wetting my eyes. I think I want to start with Robert, your song. You may think, well, I didn't sing perfectly, but actually to me, it was absolutely perfect. And as I looked at you, you know, you have a nose rather like Martin. And I felt Martin's heart through you in having written that song. And with Martin's British background, he didn't, you know, reveal it quite as vividly as you do. So that was a real gift for me. And also the experience you have of deeply looking, deeply sensing the Lord's design and control. That is so strong with me these days, the symbiotic relationship of all of nature. And Mary, that video with the eagle, I have seen many pictures of eagles and some videos, but I've never seen one that shows the eyes so vividly. And I could sense through that what the eagle is seeing as it showed, you know, what it was flying through. And when you offered your prayer, there was a point at which I looked into your eyes and they were the same eyes as that eagle. The purity of heart that you spoke in your prayer, that you might be able to see what to do and have the courage and strength to do it. And your absoluteness, the way you describe that, your absoluteness of love for the truth, it has been a riveting experience for me. Thank you so much.
I too had tears in my eyes. Because what I sensed you both brought was being naked and unashamed before the Lord. And you brought reverence. It was beautiful. Thank you both so much.
I loved flying in the air of the Spirit with both of you and appreciating the beauty of your spirits. And I love the symbolism of the eagle and the video flying in the air of the Spirit. There's such wonderful freedom as we fly in the air of the Spirit. And we're unencumbered by anything around us. That is total freedom. And that is total joy. Because wherever there is the actual experience of freedom, there's always joy. There's always a sense of praise for the fact that we find ourselves in form on earth with this ability to live in the air of the Spirit. As we were listening to Yolanda's chanting, I heard something of the North American Native Indians in that chant. And certainly we know that they had a certain attunement with the Spirit of God And that was one of their ways of expressing that. And it's so powerful. And I loved your singing, Robert. You and I have spent many hours together, and I've only heard you sing once before. And I knew you had a tremendous resonant voice. And so don't hide that voice, Robert. Keep singing. And thank you, Mary, for pointing out the fact that our times together are a celebration of victory because we're flying together in the air of the Spirit. It's always a true celebration to come together with all of you. And I was amazed, Robert, that you should quote from Martin's service, Activation of the Seventh Sense, because that's one of the services I'm going to send out this Saturday, July 1st. And you and I have never spoken about this service, but just evidence of the fact that we fly together. So it's good to take this flight with you, all of you. And thank you both, Mary and Robert, for our time together.
Robert, I also was intrigued at that hint you dropped about the seventh sense. And I think maybe you didn't describe it, but we began to experience it with you. While you were talking, Robert, just to give you a little update from the world of nature, there's been so much activity here as your voice was in this house that it was almost comical. I've had squirrels run by the door. I've had birds sweeping across. It's been really quite intriguing. And I keep thinking, can they hear? Can they hear Robert's voice? I was noting how life is the product of love and truth. And as we spoke about earlier with Mary's portion. And so by looking at life as you did so beautifully, Robert, we can see what the product of the union of love and truth are, which is life. And how, as you so beautifully described, the plant world, how it senses that vine, senses what to hold on to. Well, we have this incredible sense, the seventh sense, to discern the essences that Deborah was mentioning, and connect to this larger being that we are part of, that comes to focus as we increasingly hear and listen and perceive with the seventh sense, which we as humans have been designed to be capable of. So I loved the richness and the complexity and the lovely description of that immovability and the vibrancy of life that you brought together in the service, both of you. So a lovely time, and we do have this exceptional opportunity of dwelling in the land of the living. Thanks.
Robert, Mary, I wanted to capture or to articulate an essence that seemed to weave between the two of you. It was articulated in words by Mary. It struck me so strongly, I wrote it down. And I think that, Robert, you actually lived it. I will not let anything stop me from living my spiritual purpose. That is what came radiating out of this service this evening. From my standpoint, listening to both of you, combining it, that's the essence that came radiating forth. Thank you.
Well, I'll just make one more comment. Davina, nothing can stop us as we join together in one heart, in one mind, focused on the Lord. I would like to give Mary a chance to respond if you would like.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you, everyone. My heart is full of the rich substance of this time. And sometimes it is difficult for me to find the words when I feel so deeply. But there is joy in living, and joy is natural to us. And we know that joy. It is our Father's good pleasure that we share the kingdom. The kingdom is not only at hand, it is in our experience now. Now, yes. We let goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our life because we express it. And we are doing now what we came to do. And as Robert said, we are doing it together. So I give thanks. We give thanks. Let us give thanks to our Lord and King.
Hey, Robert, Mary, I have a feeling to say a few words here this morning. I've appreciated both of you. What's been said and the feeling current that you release through the heart that relates to the spirit of truth that you are and that you love. Early on, Mary, you emphasized that it is the spirit of truth that causes movement. The power of the spirit of love moving through the patterns of truth causes a particular kind and quality of movement that is uncommon, really, in the history of our world, where truth has not been the spirit that has been dominant in the hearts and minds of acquisitive and angry and shameful people struggling. Certainly not the spirit of truth in expression, but the power of love was there. And so the power of love had to move through channels that were not true to the truth. And yes, movement happened, but it appears to be that kind of movement that doesn't get you anywhere, really. Same old ground. But now something different is happening in the world because the spirit of truth is rising. And the spirit of love that moves from the Lord of love through the body of truth that we may provide brings a different kind of movement into the world, and that which doesn't belong, that isn't true to the truth, gets moved out of the way. The pattern, the design of life begins to appear. In accord with the sweet, beautiful forms of life in the garden of glory. Not this hell that man has made, covered with concrete, brutality everywhere, imposition upon the natural world and those human beings who are dominantly responsible for bringing the human contact with the natural world. All of those simple peoples of the world have been imposed upon because the power of love has been stolen and forced to move through channels which haven't provided the dominion of love and truth, but an overbearing and horrific imposition, death and violence. And now something different is happening. We may look out at the world and say, well, show it to me, where is it? But if the seventh sense is opened, we see things and know things that are uncommon in the world. And we see how the spirit of love is moving through the channels of truth that are now developing. And the garden experience is returning for those with eyes to see it and ears to hear the beautiful music of the garden. So this is something that was actually happening today and has been happening through this body of people and others in other gatherings who allow a focus of the spirit of the truth of love to be present. There is the release of a current, invisible and vibrational, that is moving out of the way that which doesn't belong and allowing to reappear step by step. The beautiful revelation of the garden of God. I hear it and I see it all around me. It's present when I go outside and work in my physical garden and I hear those birds singing and I look down and there's something happening in the plant that I'm working with. And I can hear and feel that the plant and the bird are actually working together to allow the release of invisible magic that I begin to become aware of in the garden. But we're here to allow these things to continue so that the whole earth is restored to the garden state. And the king and queen of love are seen to be present in the garden. And we are of that garden royal nature, the garden of God, here to steward as we have done so simply this morning. And I thank you both for stirring us in various ways that are uncommon, actually. We haven't really engaged some of these things in the way that you opened up a little bit this morning. I'm grateful.
Thank you, David. So beautiful. I am so appreciative of all that has been shared in this time through each one. And thank you, Robert, for the depth of heart, passion you expressed through your song and words. But I want to go back particularly to what you shared, Mary, because there's something of a particular essence that came through that I feel it is so important for us to mark and amplify. I felt that you took a divine action through what you expressed, your positive expression of being, the prayer that you shared, let my heart be so pure that I may see with right vision. What you shared was the right vision from your pure heart. And I felt that in what you expressed, you did something very particular. It was, to me, you set the spirit of truth, the spirit of the Lord of truth, the spirit of the divine eagle free in our midst, and through us in the world, a world that has tremendous amount of confusion, including those who knew Martin once, a tremendous amount of confusion. It set something free of the spirit of the Lord of Truth, the eagle. And when you showed that video of the eagle, I felt the noble spirit and the crooked nose of Martin, the noble spirit of Martin, noble spirit of the Lord of Truth. You said the truth is absolute. The truth is immovable. And yet all around it begins to move when it's present. And if we're not moved by all that moves, then we continue to express the immovable force into the world. The importance of the spirit of truth, in some ways more than the spirit of love, has been forgotten. What is needed more is not love, it's the truth of love, and that is love. And you brought that sharply to focus today. When that eagle was flying in the video, I felt the reality and spirit of the truth of the Lord's body. That eagle is the Lord's body. And may the passion of our being together be that eagle. Marsha mentioned about seeing the eye of the eagle. I noted that too. The vivid clarity of that eye that sees and sees through all the confusion and represents the Lord of Truth, serving the Lord of Love. So thank you for the specific action you took to release the spirit of the Lord of Truth and of that eagle in our midst and into the world.
Thank you, Eugen. And What I am experiencing now is an indescribable love for you, what you have expressed, your unique spirit and purpose. Bringing it to focus as you did is remarkable. And all that we have shared and all the comments contribute their own remarkable piece to the experience that we have now, the vision that we have now, the substance that we have now. And I feel in my heart of hearts the Lord's promise, the Spirit of truth, the Comforter is always with us. And we continue on with new vision, free in the air of spirit, to discover what the Lord would bring forth through us. Because it is the Lord that is building our house. And we are building that house on the true foundation of truth. Stable, immovable, knowing that the glories of life will appear in their season.
Mary and Robert, you've given us a clear choice today, more articulate choice that there's only one way to go. And the sensing is, blessed are the pure in heart, for we shall see God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for we shall see God. Let's continue along these lines, making the choice of saying yes and realizing there's a clear choice in the truth. And the sixth sense, if we're only relying on our intuitive sense, we judge, there's judgment to the world. But our seventh sense, a pure heart, allows for acknowledging the truth in every single moment, whoever we're with, acknowledging life as it is, as Robert, you so clearly expressed. Let's so continue in the way. Our next Temple of Light service will be July 23rd with Eugene leading our time. And we look forward to that. David, I think you have some music for us.